Hey everyone, welcome back to BlauDev. I'm going to be showing you guys today how to create a very clean intro opening screen along with a clean login page and a clean registration page for your app. So I'll be showing you how to get these text fields, the logo, the buttons, all this functionality, how to get it all looking really clean for your own app. And so we're just going to kind of dive right in. I've created a new project. I'm going to actually spin it up on this emulator so we can kind of follow along here. And I'm in my main.dart file. That's all I have currently. And so what I'm actually going to do is while I'm waiting for that to spin up, I'm going to create a new package called views. And in that package, I'm going to create 3 files. I'm going to create a, let's see here, I'll call it opening screen. Okay, opening screen. I'll create a login screen. And then I'll create a register screen. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this initial screen right here, this main.dart. And so let's see, you can see in the emulator, this is just the default page. And so what I'm first going to do is I don't care for any of this in theme data. Actually, I'm not even going to care to define a theme for now. My home, I'm going to actually get rid of that whole thing. My home page is going to be broken for now, but this will be called opening screen. And what that's going to be is import package. Let's see, what did I call this project? I called it opening screen demo. That was it. Okay, and I'm going to reference that new file. So right now this is going to throw an error because clearly there's no class under opening screen. Alrighty, next I'm going to actually create a stateless widget class, but I'm going to need the material.dart for this. I'm going to say class opening view extends stateless widget. And if you're using Visual Studio Code or you're using some other plugins or extensions with Android Studio, you can actually auto-generate a lot of times. You can just, I don't remember exactly where it is. I believe it's under code. But you can typically generate a template stateless widget class. It's pretty easy to do though, so I don't really mind typing it out. Okay, so I'm going to say override widget build Okay. Okay, here. Let's see here. So I'm going to define a couple things. I'm going to first define final MQ equals media query dot of context. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to reference the size of the page and get that in terms of pixels. And so I'm actually going to use this variable later. You'll see. But I'm going to use this variable later to help create a dynamic page layout. Okay. Okay, so I got opening view, main.dart. Okay, so this is actually opening view. Okay, so that's no longer broken. And I'm going to say opening view demo for the title. Still breaks because opening screen isn't returning anything. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to return a scaffold widget. And that's going to have, let's see here, let's do a child. Actually, I'm sorry, it's a body element is what the scaffold widget has. And I'm going to have it be a padding. And what that padding is going to have, it's going to have a padding of edge insets all. And let's just do, let's say 36. Okay. And I want to have a column widget inside of that. And the column widget has children. So the reason I'm doing it this way is, one, I want to create some padding around the edge. So I want there to be space where it never actually is going to come near the edge. Not the buttons, not the logo, not any of that. And what I'm going to do here is I have a column, so I'm going to have a logo and then 2 buttons, okay? And so I'm actually going to break these out into elements up here. All final logo equals. And this one will be, I don't actually have a logo yet, but I will be using one in a folder called asset. And so I'm just going to leave that blank for now. I'll come back to the logo later, and for now I just won't really do much with it. There is one more thing though, what is it? It's alignment? No, that's not what it's called. Fit. That's what it is, fit, box fit. Okay, and I want to do box fit dot contain. Okay. And boom. I'm going to format that. And so eventually what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to be referencing my assets folder and then the name of the file. But before, I don't actually have this in my project yet. Eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a directory. I'm going to call it assets, and I'm going to actually put a logo.png file in there, and then down in my pubspec.yaml is where I'll define that file name. So eventually that will go here. For now, I'm going to leave that just blank. The next bit that I want to do is I want to have something called buttons. And what buttons is going to be is it's going to contain the 2 buttons that I have. And so buttons is going to be another column. Children. Okay. And I'm actually going to want to create some alignment here. Actually, do I want to do that? Yeah, actually, I'm going to create some alignment down in this one first. So what I'm going to want to do is I want to do main axis alignment, space between. And what this is going to do is it's going to evenly space the logo and the bottom section, which is the buttons. Now I can actually already reference this here actually now. Now in the buttons column, I'm going to have the main axis alignment dot start and a cross axis alignment. So this is how it's going to be presented horizontally. Cross axis alignment dot stretch. Okay. And then I'm going to have a login button and a register button. Okay. I'm going to define those up here. Okay, so I'm going to build out the login button entirely first, and then I'm basically just going to copy it right into register. And so the way I'm going to do this is I first want to create an elevation, give it a little bit of a pop. I want to add a border radius. Border radius dot circular. And I believe in past projects I typically do 25, and it gives it a nice slight curve. For color, I'm just going to use white. Depending on what the theming of your project will be, you can leave this blank. If you've already built out your app theme, you can change it to whatever color you want your buttons to be. But I'm going to leave it white in this case. And then I'm going to give it a child of material button. Now the reason I'm putting the material button inside of material is because the material is what can give me that border radius and that pop. Material button, as you'll see here, it doesn't have a border radius property. And so by putting inside of a material, I can give it that round shape. So the material button is going to have a minimum width of mq.size.width divided by 1.2. And this is that mq that I was referencing above. Again, depending on the size of the screen, it'll take the size of whatever screen it's looking at, it'll take the width of that screen, and it'll divide it by 1.2. So basically, it'll be contained to 1.2 times the width. So it won't take up the full width, but it'll always be the same, it'll appear the same regardless of device. And so that's the minimum width that I want it to have, is to at least be that wide. I'm going to give it some padding, edge insets, from left, top, right, and bottom. And what this is going to let me do is I can do some custom. So 10 on the left, 15 on the top, we'll do 10 on the right, 15 on the bottom, and 15 on the bottom. Okay. And then child text. This one is login. Text align will be text align center, and then style will be text style. Let's give a font size of 20. Let's give it a color, colors.black, because my button's going to be white. And then I want to give it a font weight of bold. And this is one of the things I love the most about trailing commas, because when I do Command Option L in Android Studio, the Dart formatter will actually go ahead and create a nice pleasant tree for me. Okay, so this button is done. The only thing missing from this is to have an on pressed. You can hear the fireworks going on outside, close to 4th of July here. People are a little excited. Okay, login pressed. Okay, and so this one's done. So I'm gonna actually copy everything in here, go down to my register button, paste, change this to register. Okay, and we're gonna do some transitioning later. But for now, we're going to keep this as is. So now I've got my login button, my register button. If we look here, you see those two buttons. Now there's one thing missing here. You can see one, they're all the way at the top. And the big reason for that is there's no logo pushing them down. If there were a logo, it would space them evenly. Actually, it might actually do this. It might break because there's no logo. Okay, now you can see how it spaced it. But it is because it's unable to load. We need to get a logo in here, that's the big problem right now. But buttons, we also need to put some padding in between these two buttons. And so I might just do a padding object. Let's just do this. Let's get some padding in between them. I could wrap one or the other in a padding, but I don't think that I'm going to do that actually. So I'm going to do edge insets all. And let's see how 12 looks. Okay, that looks like a healthy pad. Okay, I am going to quickly pause the video. You should see it update right away. I'm going to fetch a logo that we can utilize in this project and show you how to set that up. Okay, I'm back. I have my logo in here now. It's the simple BlileDev logo that you see on my YouTube channel page. I'm going to add in a background color so that this matches a little bit better. And so I'm going to do 0xFF. That is the color. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncomment, where did that go? Right here. Uncomment logo, but it still can't find it. And the one thing that's still missing is under here. I'm actually going to remove this. I just like my pub spec.yaml to be very clean looking. Okay, so you see here, it's actually showing you what you need to do. And so you do assets, and then we have assets/logo.png. And I can get rid of all that. Pub get. And actually, I don't even need the assets. I believe that that should be enough. Oh. Need a space right there. Let's see if that worked. Yes, it did. Now, I don't like the size of that image necessarily, though. I think I do want to shrink the image, and I want to get more padding underneath of this. And so what I'm going to do is go back to my opening screen. Let's see here. Let's deal with the logo first. Box fit dot. Let's see what scale down, how that would look. No, there is. Actually, I don't mind that. That looks like a decent size to me. So I just got to get some padding on the top and some padding on the bottom of these buttons, and then we're rolling. The great thing is, actually no, I haven't done that yet. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that and say LTBR, and so left will be none. I don't care for left. Top will be, what did we just have? I'm just going to say 15. Right will be none. Bottom will be, let's say 50. Let's see how that looks. No, I want more. 70. Okay. I think that's in a fine position. Now let's just worry about the logo. The logo, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a padding element, padding widget, padding edge insets only top, and let's do 50. And child will be logo. Okay, that's looking a lot better. So really simple, really clean. Sorry, I'm on the run. There you go. So you can see here, when I push these different buttons, it picks it up. So the next thing will be getting the transitions to go into login screen and register screen. Okay, so I've gone ahead and just shelled out two stateful widgets, one for my login view and one for my register view. And so the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to add routing from our opening screen to our login screen and our register screen. And so to do that, I'm actually going to create another package called theme, and I'm going to insert a file called app routes. Okay, and what app routes is going to be, and actually I'm going to rename it because that's not good naming convention. I'm going to rename it to just underscore routes. And routes is going to have, I first need to import, I believe, material. Yeah, I'm going to need material. I'm going to import package, opening screen, demo views, login screen. And then I also want to import register screen. because I'm going to reference them and navigate. Okay, so I'm going to call app routes and set up. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to create a couple of variables, all static const strings. I'm going to call this one auth login, and that's going to equal auth login. And I'm actually just going to copy this and paste. Instead of auth login, I'll call this one auth register. This one will be register. Okay. Then I'm going to say static map. Just make sure I get this right. Of type string and widget builder define. And I'm going to say auth login pass context equals auth, or actually no, I need it to be the name of the class inside of the login, which is just login. Okay. And then auth register context register. Okay. I believe, oh no, I'm missing one thing here. I need to say return that. And I believe that's all I need to do. Next, I need to go to my main. And what I need to do here is I need to define routes. So let's say routes is equal to app routes dot define. Okay. And it needs to be imported. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that imported. And I should be good to go. Okay. So now from opening screen, I'm here on my login. What I can do now is, let's see, where's my onPressed? Okay, I can say navigator dot of context dot push named, and then all I have to do is say app routes dot auth login. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for register, except instead of auth login, auth register instead. Okay. And now let's just get something to return here. That way it's not going to just like break. And so I'm going to do another scaffold widget. And so I'm going to say return scaffold. For body, I'm just going to say form. And now I'm just going to say that so that it doesn't break. Okay. There we go. There's obviously nothing, but it routed successfully to the login page. So actually, I'm going to hot reload that because I have no way of going back. And we're just going to get rolling now with this widget. So we're going to need a couple things here because we're going to be doing a form. I'm not sure if you remember, but we're going to have two text fields, one for username or email and one for password. And so I'm going to do a form to capture that information. And I'm going to need a form key before I do anything else. So, oh, what kind? It's a what kind of key is it? I believe it's a, okay, it's a global key. Just bear with me as I try to remember here. We'll call it this, form key equals global key form state. I think that's what I want. Okay. And I'm going to pass that key here. So key is going to be form key. Okay, next thing we're going to do is let's replace this text now that all this is set up. And we're going to replace it with a single child scroll view. Okay. And that is going to have a padding of edge insets all. And we're going to do 36. And it's going to have a child of column. Okay. That column has children. And before we do the children, let's set up the axis alignment. And we're going to do space around. So put some space around each item. And we're going to have 3 sections here. We're going to have a logo. We're going to have our text fields. And we're going to have our bottom section, which contains the buttons and the navigation to the register screen, should the user be on the wrong page. Excuse me. Another thing I'm going to set up here is I'm going to have a final MQ equals media query dot of context. The reason for that, as we mentioned before on the opening screen, is to get a more dynamic sizing for our elements, our widgets. Okay, so we need to do a final logo, and actually I'm going to remove this really quick because we actually already did this on another screen. On our opening screen, we actually already defined a logo element. So boom, one thing down. The next thing is I actually want to, similar to the first screen, I want to add a background color to the scaffold. Okay. Okay. And we don't need to incorporate a back button on the scaffold. There's no need for a top bar with a back button because we're actually going to have navigation going to the registers as well and from register to login. So you can kind of go back and forth between the two without needing to head back to that opening screen. So the opening screen acts more as like a splash screen, just a clean entrance into the app. Okay, so we have logo done. The next bit would be fields. Final fields equals, and let's see here. So fields, we need to have a couple of things. We need to have an email field and a password field. So it'd be most fitting to have a column. So I'm actually going to add a padding element first, and I'm not going to worry about what the padding is. I'm going to just leave it there. I'm expecting that, we're going to need to pad it a little bit in one way or the other. Children, so we're going to have a column, and this is going to have an email field and a password field. Excuse me. And main axis alignment will be main axis alignment start. Okay. So fields is semi-done. We still have to do email field and password field. Okay, so final email field. Is that what I named it? It is. Okay, so this is going to be, okay, the email field is probably going to be a text form field element. And the text form field element, we're going to need a controller on that. So I need to do a text editing controller. We'll call this email controller. And text editing controller password controller. Oh, excuse me, I have something in my throat. Okay, so we have our controller. We're next going to say keyboard type is text input type dot email address. And the reason I'm doing this is because when the keyboard actually pops up for the user, it'll have the @ sign, it'll have a period sign, symbol I should say. It'll have those present on the keyboard so the user doesn't have to click any additional buttons to find those. And we're going to add one more field. I'm going to call it is submitting. I'm going to set it to false to start. And we are going to say enabled is submitting. And what this is going to do is it's going to disable the field. It's going to make it look disabled unless is submitting is true. And we'll get more into that here in a little bit. And then we're going to add some styling. Text style. And really all we care about is colors for now. Okay. And then a decoration. Input decoration. And the reason we're doing a decoration is it's going to allow us to add in a hint. So it's like when they click on it, it's going to show like a template of what they should write, essentially. So this is something at example.com. I want to say label text will be email. And hint style is going to be text style. Color, colors, white. There's a couple things wrong with this. One, there needs to be a comma. Two, this is a capital C. Okay, put a trailing comma. Make sure everything's formatted properly. I can uncomment this because it's now done. Okay, and then we're going to semi-replicate this for password field. It's going to be a little bit different for password, because I'm also just to the right of the password. I want to have a forgot password bit. So I'm going to actually put this in a column. Boom. There we go. Give that. Format it. Excuse me. And this one is going to be password. This one is going to be password. This will be password controller. Okay. Looking good. Then after that field, going to have a padding element. And we're going to put in engine sets. We'll put 2. We just want a slight padding to give it just a tiny bit of space from form to button. Then I'm going to have a row element. And we'll do main axis alignment, main axis alignment.end. And the reason for doing this is so on the screen, say this is my field, and I need to put the forgot password right underneath of it in the bottom right. By putting main axis alignment.end, it's going to make sure that it gets moved to the far right of the screen. Trust me, it's gonna look clean. It's gonna look good. I'm going to do a material button, because after all, this is a forgot password button. Child text, forgot password. And we want to do some styling. Text, theme, dot of, context, dot caption, dot text, theme, dot caption, dot copy with color. And the reason for doing this is I haven't defined caption yet. I'm going to eventually, but it will make sure that the sizing is in accordance with the default caption text theme. And basically we're just going to say, do whatever the default is for now, and then basically copy that and just make sure the color is white. And so that's why I did that. And then inside here, we're going to have an onPressed. And this is going to be to do create forgot password pop-up. And I'm not going to get into this in this video. This will be on a later date. I'll show you guys how to do dialogues and pop-ups and that sort of thing, and allow a user to reset their password through those dialogues. But for now, I'm just going to leave this as a to-do, and it's purely going to be a visual thing for now. Okay, so earlier I left some padding blank. I need to make sure I fill that in with something. I'll just say edge insets all. We'll say 10 for now. For fields, I think we're good to go. Let's rebuild that. This is what we have so far. See that forgot password button. Looks good. I added some padding to fields. We're missing some padding. And moving on now. Okay, let's see here. Got my fields. Currently they don't work though. I need to add that functionality. I need to add bottom. Final bottom. Okay, so for this part, I want to include a text field that says not a member, and on the right side I'll have something that says sign up. And basically that'll be a route to go to the register page. I also, above that, I want to have a button that allows the user to log in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a column. Children. Before I do children, I want to do main axis alignment. Main axis alignment dot start. And cross axis alignment. Cross axis alignment dot stretch. Okay. Children. Now I'm going to have a login button. I'm going to have a padding. And we're going to do edge insets dot all 8. Just to give it some space from the next element. And I'm going to have a row. And like I mentioned, I'm going to have 2 text fields. So I'm going to have text. And it's going to say not a member. Style. Theme dot of context dot text theme dot subtitle 1 dot copy with colors dot white. Okay. What is it not like? What is it not like? Oh, of course. There we go. Okay. And I want to do some space between for the alignment. Beautiful. And now I have my second text, but this is actually not going to be a text, even though it's going to look like it. It's going to be a material button. Material button will have a child text. Okay. And it will say sign up. Style. Theme dot of context dot text theme dot subtitle 1. Copy with colors dot white. Decoration text decoration dot underline. Beautiful. Okay, there we go. Okay, only thing missing now is that login button. And we've actually already done a decent button. So I'm going to copy what we did for register. And I'm going to put it here. I'm going to comment that out to do handle authentication. And this guy I'm going to do login. Okay, so far I think we are pretty much done. There's one thing that we need to do next though. Let's see here. Let's see, let me rebuild this guy. Okay, so the next thing to do is to add proper spacing. That would be the next thing. Once you've added spacing, I want to make these clickable. Right now, you can't click them. Why? Because they're disabled. I'm actually going to remove this for now. This is submitting. I may come back to that later, but for now, remove that. There we go. And that underline, I don't like that that underline is blue when it's focused. So we'll have to mess with that. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to add some padding around these elements. One thing I think might help is that it could simply be that this column isn't taking up the full height. And so what I could do is I could say container height mq.size.height. Child, boom. There we go. That was it. So what was going on was it was only filling the space that it needed to fill. And so it wasn't considering the whole screen when it was doing its spacing. Now we fixed that. However, I need to add a bunch of padding underneath this guy. So this is the bottom section. Let's say padding. Edge insets dot only bottom 50 child bottom. Okay. More. Okay, it's not bad. I do want to get this higher and that lower. It could be that I have padding around this. Let's see, that's fields. Define fields up here. I did do padding. So I'll change this to only top. Okay, that helps a tiny bit. Let's see what kind of padding we're dealing with in the bottom. Edge insets. That's fine. Okay. Space between, how does that change it? No, don't like that. Space evenly? Space around. I'm gonna keep it at space around. What happens if I get rid of this altogether? Yeah, I don't want that. I'll keep it at space around. We'll say 150. Okay. Sweet. So you can see here with the keyboard that I've got the @ sign and the period available. And with password, it's also like that, which is fine, but I don't necessarily want that for password. That's really not necessary. on, let me update. There we go. Normal keyboard for password, special keyboard for email. Okay, text form field. Decoration, input decoration. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with this for the most part. I'll come back to some more styling that we can do on these controllers, or these text fields in a little bit. The next thing I want to do though is add that functionality for that sign up button. That's probably the next biggest thing to do. So where we are, sign up, show button, unpressed. We're going to say navigator of context push named app routes auth register. Bingo. Shoo. Sweet. So that works. It's breaking right now because auth register doesn't have anything. But for auth register, we can actually copy most of what's in here. Okay. And then we can modify it. So I'll show you here what I'm thinking. Okay, import routes, be auth login. This will change to login. Already have account. The login will change to register, and email field will have actually a username field. Comment that out, and password field. Comment that out. And basically that'll give us another opportunity to capture the name of the user or a username they want to use, as well as have them re-enter the password so we can validate that they are correct. And make sure no one creates an account that is using a password they don't want. Okay, so we're also going to create 2 new text editing controllers. One will be the username controller, and then text, actually I'm gonna add it just below password. Text editing controller password controller. Okay, so rebuilt, that took quite some time actually. Login sends you to sign up, and sends you to login, sign up, login, sign up. Okay. Okay, so we need to add these 2 fields. We need to remove the forgot password. So password field is actually just going to be this. All of this guy can go because it's not necessary. Okay. And for password, for repassword, it's going to be the same thing as password, just slap a re on the front and change the controller. And then I can uncomment that. For the username, I can copy and paste the email field, call it username field. Controller will be username controller. We can remove this special keyboard type. John Doe. This will be username. Okay. And then I can uncomment the username field. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we're going to add a label style. And this will be color style white. Let me just confirm that this is what I want it to do. Yes. So it changes it from this blue to white. And so we're going to do this for all of our fields. So to that one, to that one, to that one. I'm going over to login now, adding it to that one and to that one. So any text field, I'm adding that element in. Perfect. Now the only thing left to change is the underline and the cursor. The cursor, however, you handle inside of the text form field, not the decoration. So, okay, add it there. I'm just gonna add it just in front of the decoration for each one of these fields. Put the login. Good. Only thing left now is the underline. Okay, we're going to address the underline now. So we're going to do border, underline, input border, border side. This is going to be border, side, color, colors dot white. So this is the repassword field. Let's check out this. So maybe it's not border per se, but focus border. That's it, it's focus border. Okay. So it's not focused, it's normal. When it is focused, it's white. Now, I also want to change this to re-enter password instead of just password. So I'm going to say re-enter password. Okay. Then I'm going to copy the focus border and put it inside the decoration for everybody. So one for you, one for you, one for you, login screen, one for you, one for you. Okay. Rebuild, just to be safe. Boom, 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 boom. Awesome. These buttons still do nothing. I'm gonna leave it at this for today. So we have our two screens. You can keep doing some additional customization. If I were to keep going, I would probably fix up the padding to get these buttons up higher. But outside of that, we've got our basic layout for our login screen and our sign up screen. I'll probably off camera, I will probably customize that opening screen a tiny bit more. I'm going to put all of this code in either GitHub or Bitbucket repository and have that public. So anyone who wants to, you can see a link in the description below and you can check out the code if I was moving too fast or you wanted to see how I did something, or you want to just take my code and modify it for your own purposes. So if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like this video, click that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.